Very good morning, students. Hope everybody is fine and doing well at home. It's raining heavily at school, and though we are trying to send a wonderful video to all of you. As part of fifth class English grammar, today I'm gonna deal with the voice. Children, you might have an idea what is a voice. It is not the voice generally we speak of from our mouth, but it is the voice. Its voice is nothing but a form of a verb. What is voice, children? Voice is a form of a verb. What is a verb? Verb again, it is an action. Okay. So before we learn this voice deeply, we have to know all the five forms of the verb: V1, V2, V3, V4, V5. In order to understand the voice completely, we have to understand the five forms of the verb. Let's take one verb, for example, I'm going to take give. So this is the base form of the verb give. What is the V2 form of give? Give. What is the V3 form of the give? Given. What is the V4 form? Giving. What is the V5 form? Gives. Only you can do active-wise and passive-wise well only when you acquaintance with all the five forms of the verb. Unless you have command on tenses, unless you know these five forms of the verb, you cannot learn this topic completely well. So, in order to understand voice, you must have understood all the five forms of the different types of verbs we have in English grammar. So, let's see some details in detail. How can we change a sentence from AV to PV? So, here voice is two types: active voice, which is shortly known as AV, passive voice, which is shortly known as PV. Let us first understand what is an active voice, what is a passive voice, taking a small example. See, I'm writing here. For example, Ramya is learning English. This is an active voice. I'll tell you how can we identify an active voice and a passive voice. See, when we look at this example, Ramya is learning English. In a sentence, when we want to change a sentence from AV to PV, we must be able to identify the subject. This Ramya is the subject, and the verb and the object. Then only we can easily convert a sentence from AV to PV. Before we change a sentence from AV to PV, we must have identified what is the subject in the sentence, what is the verb in the sentence, and what is the object in the sentence. When we convert this sentence into passive voice, we can write like this: English is being written by Ramya. I have just given you a small example, but there are rules to be followed while changing a sentence from active to PV. Let us understand what are those rules. Pause the video. Now, let us see rules to be followed. Rules to be followed while changing AV to PV. What are those rules? See, for example, first rule, rule number 1. The object of the sentence should be changed into the subject of the sentence. See, for example, he speaks English. In this sentence, this is the subject, this is the verb, and this is the object. So what we are trying to do? So this is the object. See, object of the actualizer. So the first one to be followed is the object of AV should be changed into the subject of PV. So this is the first rule. Object of AV should be changed to the subject. Okay now. What is the second rule? Second rule. Usage of proper V form according to the tense. According to the tense. Which means if the tense is singular, we have to use, if the tense is singular and present tense, we have to use is, am. If the tense is plural, we have to use are in present tense. This is one set. And if the tense is past singular, we have to use was. If the tense is plural, we have to use were in past tense. Like that, we have to use proper V forms. Third rule. This is very, very important. Always use V3 form of the verb in passive voice. What does it mean? For example, previously we wrote example. He speaks English. Here, speaks is the verb in the active voice. What is the V3 form of this verb? Spoken. Right. So always we have to use V3 form of the verb in the passive voice. That's very, very important rule to be followed by you all. Okay. Next, fourth rule. Always use by preposition after this V3, which means this V3 should always followed by this by preposition in passive voice. Finally, we have come to the fifth and final rule, that is, see, what is the first rule? Object of AV should be changed into the subject of PV. Reverse. Here, the subject should be changed into object, which means it goes reverse here. So these are the rules that everybody should follow while changing a sentence from AV to PV. Okay, thank you so much, children. We'll see how the conversion take place in the next class. Thank you so much. Have a